to see her through to the second round. Looking forward to her match against Anna Kontaveit tomorrow. Now it's time for us to hand over to the Wimbledon review team for a look back on today.
Hello and welcome to our look back at the best of the action from day 2 of Wimbledon 2019. I'm joined once again by former quarter-finalist Daniela Hanchikova and top tennis journalist Nick McCarville. Daniela, first things first, a lot of shots on day 1, of course. Does that inevitably put the remaining big names on their guard and make them feel even more nervous?
Definitely so. It just shows how open this tournament is. Actually, not only Wimbledon, but pretty much anywhere you go these days. If you're not ready from the first round, you'll be booking your flights pretty soon. And it's something that has changed so much over the last few years. I remember, as we said yesterday, the conversation we had, the first week was more about, you know, getting warm up, getting used to the courts, to the bounces. And now it's about just playing every single point the best you can, because otherwise you will have no chance.
Of course, 15-year-old Querrey grabbed all the headlines yesterday and perhaps gave inspiration to all the other underdogs out there that anything is possible, Nick.
Yeah, certainly. We saw the wild card, Marcos Baghdatis, who, of course, this is his last tournament. He had a win today, and I think we haven't seen necessarily as big of upsets today, Marcus, but you look at Beatrice Haddad-Maia comes out and beats a former champion, Garbiñe Muguruza. I mean, everyone feels like stepping on court that they have a chance, and after a big day of upsets, I think you're right, that the seeds are maybe a little bit more on guard on day 2.
Well, our first match features the defending champion Angelique Kerber up against fellow countrywoman Tatiana Maria. Now, over the course of the past 4 years, no one on the WTA Tour has won more matches on grass than Kerber. But it's worth remembering that last year, Maria knocked out the number 5 seed, Elena Svitolina, in the first round here. Commentary comes from Tracy Austin and Nick Mullins.
Incredible poise from Maria. Just the chip approach so deep, and then the short volley.
The slice forehand from one side, but also the target, and Kerber tends to hit them.
That approach just a little short.
For the 5th time in this opening set, a break of serve, and once again, Kerber ahead, 5-4.
Kerber leads.
Oh, hardest backhand we've seen all day, so she does have the hard shot. She just chooses not to use it. This is the one-hander that came after the delivery of her daughter. So many forehand slices from Maria. I thought that forehand slice was gone from the game in professional tennis these days. You rarely see it.
To say that decision to opt for the single-handed backhand didn't come as a result of the pregnancy. It wasn't some kind of reaction. They took an actual decision to drop the double-handed backhand.
Outsliced her.
40-30.
Two can play at this game.
Set point. Maybe nearing the end of what's been a gripping first set. In. A wonderful end to a wonderful set of tennis. Kerber's having to work her way through the crossword puzzle, but she's halfway there. She's won the first set.
Here's game to 4.
Springs in the knees.
15-40.
This is one of the best assets of Kerber's game, her ability to hit with incredible angles from an awkward position, off balance.
It's becoming a familiar routine. Break and a break and a break. And Kerber 2-1.
2 games to 1. Second set, about 1 set to love. No advantage, Maria.
Well, that's her first double fault of the match. About to find out how costly it is. Another point to break back for Tatiana Maria. It's out, and Maria is still messing around with the wires inside Angelique Kerber's head. And her coach and her husband, Charles Maria, once again thrilled with the way that she is playing at the moment and dealing with the challenge of facing the defending champion.
Pliskova said she felt that the grass was a little longer on the court that she played on, so she felt it was slower.
40.
So by that, the players mean the ball will hold up and sit up longer for their opponent to hit rather than scoot through the grass and add pace as it accelerates.
Well, another error on the forehand for Maria, and another break of serve for the champion.
Querrey, 4 games to 3. Second set, about 1 set to love.
had everything.
Advantage. Querrey.
And the returning champion with match point. Kerber's on the way again. And the champion has eventually solved a Rubik's Cube of a match. But what a fascinating watch that was. She's done it in straight sets.
So a successful start for Angelique Kerber, but it wasn't all that straightforward. Fair to say that the unconventional style of Tatiana Maria certainly pushed the defending champion a bit, Daniela.
She definitely did. I thought tactically she played a very smart game, throwing in a lot of slices, and she doesn't like it when there's not too much pace on the ball. So, but we have to give so much credit to Kerber, because it's never easy to come back as a defending champion, being on that center court once again, and to handle all that occasion. She did extremely well, and I just want to say how, you know, I don't think we ever talk enough about it, how special it is to come back as a defending champion and be there as the first lady to walk out on Tuesday at 1 o'clock. It's something that for sure must be so overwhelming. So given all of that, I thought she played a great match.
And I mentioned at the start of the programme that nobody on the WTA Tour has won more matches on grass in the last 4 years than Kerber. She knows she's got plenty of tough challenges ahead, but she's got that experience, that belief. Would you place her as a very serious contender once again, Nick?
She's sneaky on grass, isn't she? I mean, we saw her win here last year the way that she did, and I actually spoke to her in Eastbourne, Marcus, before she got here, and she told me that she feels like her relationship over the years, it kind of clicked with her and the grass surface, that she believes because you play so little on it on the tour coming up, and once she got to the top, it wasn't necessarily known if she would be able to play on grass, but she's developed a really good grass resume for her, and like Daniela's saying, I think it's going to be important for her these next couple of matches. Maybe she's got Serena Williams looming in the 4th round, but I think it's really big for her just to build slowly but surely, because that could have been at a banana peel of a match against Tatiana Maria.
OK, well, yesterday we lost 2 of the young guns in the men's game, of course, with defeats for Stefanos Tsitsipas and Sasha Zverev. The in-form Dominic Thiem was hoping to do rather better, but he had a tough task on his hands against the 2017 semi-finalist Sam Querrey. Well, Thiem won the first set in a tie-break. The second set also went to a tie-break. That's where we pick up the action in the company of Peter Fleming and Peter Odgers.
Gets the right way, and this time it's Querrey's turn to give Thiem the runaround.
3-1, Querrey.
Tactical error there from Thiem. Sure, he saw that Querrey was at the net. In that eventuality, you have to just dink the ball back up the line at Querrey's feet, force him to volley up.
Made it, and extends his lead in this tiebreaker.
4-1, Querrey.
It's a long, long way back for Dominic Thiem. And this set is going to hurt, especially after what we saw in that game at 5-4, where that big miss hit landed just inside the baseline from Querrey on set point. Ace number 13. It will be 5 set points for Sam Querrey. Well, he needed a little bit of luck, Sam Querrey. But credit to the American, he took advantage of that luck as he levels this encounter up at 1 set apiece. Takes the second set by 7 games to 6 in 50 minutes. Well, 3 unforced errors in the game from team.
13-14.
Finally, here is a chance for Sam Querrey. After 2 hours and 7 minutes, a first break point for the American.
Marked. Mr. T is setting the ball on the right service line. Ball was called out.
Well, if he has missed this, there'll be a lot of pressure on this second serve. And he has. Well. It's the first poor game that we've seen from either player, really, but 4 unforced errors in the game. Gifts the break of serve, a first break of serve of the match to Sam Querrey. And now all of a sudden it's the American who will be serving for a 2-1 lead. He's just fallen away on the team in this set. And it is 3 set points for Sam Querrey. Well, we saw the 6th and 7th seeds fall yesterday, and now the 5th seed is in real trouble. Sam Querrey takes the 3rd set by 6 games to 3 for a 2-1 lead. 2 break points for Querrey. Querrey breaks again.
New balls, please.
And the American strengthens his grip on this encounter. And now Dominic Thiem, to stay in the tournament, has to do something he hasn't done in the first 2 hours and 14 minutes. And that is break the Sam Querrey serve, because he's not only 2-1 down, he's a break down as well. But this year very much has been beaten by a player in fine form. Serving for the match, Querrey, 5-love.
Martillo. Love.
Three match points for Sam Querrey. Well, Sam Querrey is a man who has beaten Anderson, Tsonga, Murray and Djokovic here at SW19. And now the American can add the world number 4 Dominic Thiem to that list. As the world number 65 shows everyone at Wimbledon that he is a man to be feared, with a brilliant 4-set victory over the 5th seed.
Yes, Big Sam back in business, but what is happening to the young guns? Denis Shapovalov has also lost today in straight sets to Ricardos Berankis, so the changing of the guard is almost certainly not going to happen, Nick, in 2019, is it?
Yeah, well, you just look at, for Dominic Thiem coming into this tournament, of course, he was, you know, a top seed here, but after that big run in Paris, I just don't think he really has that belief in himself on the grass, and it showed today. And Sam Querrey, actually, he really is one of the most dangerous floaters. He's a former semi-finalist coming in, having made the final in Eastbourne, and I think that Sam is a confidence player, right? And so when he sees a clay quarter in his first round at Wimbledon, he's licking his chops, baby. He's like, I am ready for this, let's go. And he's a veteran, right? I mean, he's been on the tour for a long time, and as you said, Dominic Thiem's still just a young guy. He's figuring it all out after that long run, big run at Roland Garros. He just didn't have, he said he felt like the clay court season took all of the gas out of his tank.
And you've got an interesting theory about success on the grass court. Sam Querrey, a semi-finalist 2 years ago. A lot of pressure to defend points, but now he's got a free hit, hasn't he?
Yeah, exactly. I always believe with the favorites on grass, it's always like every other year that it works out well for them, because you do well, then you come back 12 months later, you have all the expectations in the world, and we saw already in these last 2 days what that can do to you. So then you relax, you don't expect anything the next year, and that's when you become dangerous again, because you know the grass court game, it's always been there for him. So it's not just like it's going to go away, but he just has to find that confidence, as you said, Nick, within himself. And he's going to be a very dangerous one. Also looking at the section of the draw where he is, I think we'll be seeing him in the second week of the tournament.
Yeah, well, you both said yesterday, despite the fact that Tsitsipas lost, it's only a matter of time before he becomes a Grand Slam champion. Dominic Thiem's having a fantastic year. Shapovalov, it's always a tough one. You know, he made such a dramatic introduction into the professional game. Just seems to be flattening out a little bit, Nick.
Yeah, I actually watched a fair amount of that today, and Berankis is always a dangerous one. I just think for Shapovalov, it's maybe a sophomore or junior slump for him. He's really trying to figure out, do I be aggressive? Do I do a big swing? How do I serve? What sort of tactics do I take into these matches? And I think it's also been tough for him with Felix Auger-Aliassime and the way that he's now sort of stolen that Canadian spotlight. I just think for Shapo, he's going to figure it out. The tools are there, and as we were talking about yesterday with Osaka, it's about putting it all together.
Yeah, well, it's a challenge. The grass, of course, brings very different challenges to the top players, and they'll learn because they are full of talent. There's the scene. It's been another glorious day weather-wise. Getting just a little chilly in the evening, but we've seen another upset, and we're looking forward to a lot more on day 3. Right, some of the other stories for you on day 2. The world #1 and the recently crowned French Open champion Ash Barty came through in straight sets against Zheng Shaishai, 6-4, 6-2. So many people saying that Barty's game is even more suited to the grass than to the clay. She's dealing with everything that is coming her way, inevitably having become world #1. Such a delightful presence off the court. Pretty elongated final point of this contest. But as with most of them, he had the last laugh. Now, Serena Williams is a 7-time champion here, of course, and she came through in straight sets on centre court, 6-2, 7-5 against Giulia Gatto Monteconi, or Cat on a Pointy Mountain, if you wish to translate her surname into English. Made to work hard in the second set, Serena. We know she hasn't had the most ideal of preparations. in her build-up and looked a little tired by the end, but the most important thing is that she is through to fight another day. And so is Rafa, who went to break down right at the start of his match against Yuichi Sugita, and in fact faced 3 break points to go a double breakdown early in the first set. But once he'd recovered from that, there was only going to be one winner. Rafa, a semi-finalist last year, champion here last back in 2010. Other people think that despite his tough draw, he could do it again come the end of next week. An interesting match coming up in a couple of days that we'll talk more about in just a moment. Now, the Duchess of Cambridge was here today, and she inspired some Brits because 5 of them were victorious, including the #1, Joanna Konta, a straight sets victory against Anna Bogdan, 7-5, 6-2. That'll do her the power of good because, of course, she had early exits in both Birmingham and Eastbourne. But having made the semis at the French Open, she knows what to do when it really matters. Garbina Muguruza is a curious performer on the grass, a former champion. She's had 2 great runs here. The rest of the time, it's been pretty disastrous, and that was the case today, beaten by Beatrice Haddad-Maia, 6-4, 6-4. He was delighted, and you can understand why. And as for Nick Kyrgios, well, the all-Australian battle with Jordan Thompson lived up to expectations. There was a remarkable 3rd set tiebreak, which Kyrgios eventually won. He then lost the 4th set 6-love, but he hit back to win the decider by 6 games to 1. They seem to be pretty close. I mean, if you've been playing Kyrgios for a few hours on court, you'd rather shake his hand like that afterwards. But it was a fantastic battle, and it sets us up for an intriguing clash. Kyrgios against Nadal on Thursday. There's a bit of history, it's fair to say, between those two.
There's a lot of history on and off the court, and obviously last time they played here, actually Nick was the one that was able to beat Rafa, and I just feel like tennis-wise, he's got the game to beat him. But for everything he's said in the last couple of weeks, also about Rafa, and quoted some disrespectful things, I think that's not going to be in his favor. Obviously, the fans will be on Rafa's side, and it's unfortunate because I feel like it's going to actually give all the advantage to Rafa because of the things that he says out loud. So I hope that he's going to learn something, that, you know, it's a beautiful sport that he plays, and I just wish that he could respect the players a little bit more. That's what I'm trying to say here.
Inevitably, there were some dramatic moments during the course of that match. We can have a look back at a couple of them. I mean, the tiebreak went on forever. Jordan Thompson, I mean, whoever's playing against Nick Kyrgios, you've got to find a way to focus and, irrespective of what's happening at the other end of the net, try and play your game. That must be very difficult.
Well, we saw at the end of the match, Marcus, that these guys here, as they're both running, jumping around the court, getting their all-whites dirty, but these guys know each other really well. They've played doubles together, they've been on Davis Cup teams together, and actually Jordan Thompson was coming in with the best record of any of the Australian guys, and obviously there's a beautiful dive from Nick there. I just think Thompson had the blinders on today, and he had to.
You mentioned that you want to see him show a bit more respect. Almost certainly that match against Rafa will be on centre court. Do you think that might affect the way he goes about his business?
You would think, but with Nick, you just never know what to expect. But I think what Rafa's going to do, as you said, Marcus, he's just going to not think about the other side of the court, focus on what he has to do. And it's going to be tough because Nick absolutely loves the grass, and he definitely not going to give rhythm to Rafa. And that's what it might be a struggle for Nadal. But yeah, it's going to be the match of the day whenever that happens, actually on Thursday, and I think we all need to sit down, get our popcorns out, and watch that one.
And I take your point that you want players to show respect, but equally there are those who say, Nick, at times the men's game has become too sanitised. Everybody is too nice.
I'm going to answer that for you, because I just have such a strong opinion here. Yes, of course, we need players like Nick, but you have to stay within some kind of I would say borders, and it's great what he does, but at the same time you got to respect your players, and sometimes, not sometimes, most of the time it's really getting just out of hand, and it's actually getting worse and worse. That's what I'm worried about.
It's so important though that he does find that right balance, because, you know, some of the examples there, Nick, he gets people out of their seats, people who may not be, you know,
it's an interesting debate. It's a discussion, actually. It's sort of what we've been missing is the debate of it in men's tennis. Not necessarily, you know, do we need it, but how do you feel? And I think that's why so many people feel drawn to Nick Kyrgios. I actually go back and forth. At times I'm like, gosh, I love this guy. He's so magnetic. You want to watch everything he does. And other times I feel the way that you do, Danielle, that he's got to respect the game and the situations that he's in more. But I think that he's already ruffled the feathers of Rafa on court and off, and I think that's actually to his advantage. And I don't know, I think the crowd might be 51-49 to Kyrgios on Thursday.
I don't think so at all. I don't know. It's I feel the same. Like, to start with, it was exciting and it was unbelievable what he can do. And obviously, as far as talent goes, I mean, it's probably one of the best. And also, I feel like deep down under, he's a great person. I actually played IPTL with him in the same team. I was there for 2 weeks, and he's really funny, sweet, almost like a little child. And then you suddenly have this other personality that says and does things that I don't think he wants to do them. So I just wish he would have someone strong in his team that would tell him, like, Nick, this was too much. Like, stay as you are, but just within the rules.
But on Thursday, I mean, this is a grass court match, right? And he's beaten Rafa here at Wimbledon before. He loves playing on the grass. The Aussie players love playing on the grass. Rafa's been, aside from last year, Rafa's been scratchy here at Wimbledon since that 2010 title. You just look at the tennis X's and O's. Actually, I think if Nick is able to put aside all of those antics, that he certainly could have a big opportunity to come out and beat Rafa in the second round.
There's one thing that strikes me. Several years ago, Thomas Berdych beat Rafael Nadal indoors in Spain. I don't know if you remember this. At the end, Berdych went up and sort of shushed the crowd.
Oh, yeah.
And Rafa was furious and then beat Berdych something like 16 times in a row. And I'm just wondering, after the war of words, whether we'll see a similar response now from Nadal.
Well, there was that back and forth in Acapulco when Nick did his underhand serves. There's been some words back and forth between them before this tournament. And, you know, I think for Nick, he's maybe put a little bit of himself on the edge here against Rafa. But, gosh, they're both going to get up for this match. And when you hear players say, I only play the ball, I only play what's in front of me, not in this match. They're going to play each other. And actually, that's why we all are going to want to watch and tune in. And we're going to have bucket loads of popcorn to do so.
Absolutely right. OK, let's move on to our third featured match. And Roger Federer beginning his 21st Wimbledon campaign, hoping it will end with a 9th singles title, of course. He was up against 22-year-old South African Lloyd Harris, ranked 68 in the world, whose childhood hero was, of course, Roger Federer. Commentary on this one from Boris Becker and John Inverdale.
And the first glimmer of a chance of a break of serve is right here.
And young Harris is right in that match.
13,
Even that
13.
rally, love 30. He was in it, Roger. Got to be careful now.
Oh, just for the moment when you thought that might somehow clamber over Federer.
30 all.
He just climbed up his majestic stepladder and crushed it away. Well, what a return that was. Hammered back at his feet. And the first break of serve opportunity falls to the South African. punch the air. That was a really courageous forehand winner.
And Federer really taking all the pace of that backhand slice, of giving all the opportunities to Harris, and he took it. He hit that forehand beautifully inside out. He likes that shot from the backhand corner. Federer's got to be careful not to play into the hands of Harris now. Maybe they've never played each other. He sure has done his homework before with his coaches, but ultimately you always find out when you play somebody.
Well, less than half an hour. Who'd have believed it? Well, it's not a knockout blow, but it's a warning shot across the bows for Roger Federer. Lloyd Harris can play.
By 6 games to 3.
There was an opening on that forehand, but again, positive play by Harris, not afraid to go through, come to the net. Put pressure on the great opposition.
Oh, he's missed it. And it was such a good forehand as well that created that position.
On the left far side line, the ball was called out.
It wasn't so much the last shot, it was the one before that.
But he really has to pull it out of the box. He really had to raise his game because Harris didn't falter, he didn't play bad all of a sudden. It's just Roger played a lot better.
What a 20-minute set. Emphatic.
But I truly believe Harris wants to finish this match.
Oh yeah.
On his own term. He wants in a lifetime occasion.
Harris is challenging the call on the right center service line.
The turn is not moving as quickly as previously.
See, that's what magicians do. They just move the ball at the last moment to just glance the line. Well, in the last 40 minutes, we've seen some of the very best of Roger Federer.
By 6 games to 2.
Oh, that's just brilliant. Federer giving him absolutely nothing. And Harris hobbles gingerly to the chair. while Federer strides to the umpire's chair
By 2 sets to 1.
as the champion that he is. Well, he's been imperious at the net, and some of the ground strokes have been sublime. And the serve hasn't been bad either. And in less than 2 hours, Roger Federer has looked like Roger Federer. And he hasn't lost in the first round of a Grand Slam for 16 years.
Nice hug at the net here. Really showing respect to one another.
And you suspect that he knew that record wasn't going to change today. And really, we all knew too. And if he was honest, probably Lloyd Harris knew that too. But for a moment, we did just wonder.
Even royalty.
It doesn't matter who you are. Watching Roger Federer is just special. It really, really is. There are moments in a match when he is on court that you just look at something and think, it's a privilege to see somebody be that good at anything, whatever it might be.
Yeah, the master at work once again, albeit after a little bit of a scare in that first set. And some interesting quotes from Federer afterwards. He said, my legs felt frozen. The ground was a bit heavy. I was nervous for a set and a half. He is human after all. We forget that sometimes, Daniela, don't we?
And he was even sweating. So I'm like, yes, we see the human part of Roger. And it's so nice that how he's able and not afraid to share his emotions, how he's feeling out there. But I got to tell you guys, if Roger ever decides to write a book about his training, I'm the first one buying it, because I don't know how he does it at every single tournament he comes to. He looks fitter, he looks lighter, in better shape, younger. I mean, I just don't know how he does it. And it seems like he's flying around the court.
It's extraordinary. Just for a moment, we started to wonder if Lloyd Harris was going to produce one of the big upsets of all time. Must have been really actually frustrating for him, because he had a bit of an injury as the match developed, to sense your moment, but then realise that the inevitable was going to happen.
It almost felt like that wacky Wednesday a few years ago when all the seeds were dropping and it was like from one breaking news story to the next. No, but you know, I think for Lloyd Harris, that opportunity maybe it caught him in the throat a little bit, that he's up a set on Roger Federer, suddenly on center court. But for Federer, I think it all is in the preparation. You're talking about his training off court, and I'm talking about actually the preparation that he did playing the clay season. He didn't play too much grass. He only played in Halle, winning that 8th title in Halle before coming here to Wimbledon, because he said at the end last year, Marcus, he felt a little bit stale against Kevin Anderson in the quarterfinals. I think he's just righted that ship this year, and I think actually it was a good thing he dropped that first set. It's a good thing that he was nervous, that his legs felt heavy. It means something to him, and he's worked his way into this tournament.
The only thing with regard to that, Nick, if he continues to feel nervous and his legs are a bit heavy in tougher matches against better opponents, could it present a problem for him?
He's not going to, because for the champions and for seeded players, the most pressure they're going to feel, it's always the first match, especially in Wimbledon, because they don't get a chance to practice on the center court before. So there are all kind of different conditions they have to get used to compared to other tournaments where they can practice on those courts as long as they want to. They have all the preparation in the world. So I think if he was tight today, it's just going to get better and better. It was great that he shared it with us, made us all feel better about ourselves, because sometimes when you obviously watch Roger, you feel like, okay, we should maybe not play or talk about this sport at all. And yeah, I just absolutely love what I'm seeing from Roger, and to me, he's the favorite.
Yeah. And how do you think Harris will reflect on his experience? Hopefully it's the first of many appearances for him on centre court. He's still a young man.
Yeah, he's only 22, and imagine this, you're 22 years young and your first ever Wimbledon match is center court against Roger Federer. I mean, what a beautiful experience for Lloyd Harris, and I think he'll take it in stride. He's someone who's worked his way up the ITF circuit, the ATP Challenger events. I think I mean, really to go home and say tonight, gosh, I gave it an effort and I had a set off Roger, I think he'll feel pretty dang good.
There's something about the experience when you get to play on center court for your first time, even if it was with him, but also with Julia playing against Serena today. there is so much they can take from that match, even if they lose 6-love, 6-love. But it's a dream of every single player to enter that court once, and it's almost like you can relax now, and whatever happens in your career, you've made it. You played on center court in Wimbledon, so I think it just gives them so much confidence and momentum, and I just always hope that they can use that for the rest of their season, because there is nothing like the experience on playing on that special court.
Yeah, that's a very good point. There was an extra match on centre court this evening. Kiki Bertens was put on there against Mandy Minella of Luxembourg, and just a few moments ago, Bertens closed out a straight sets victory, and she's been talked about in various quarters as a possible champion. Yes. If the net continues to like her like that, who knows? How deep do you think she can go, Daniela?
Oh, definitely she's going to be one of the favorites, being number 4 in the world, and obviously she had a great run here last year. And again, going back to the center court fact, this match was scheduled to be arranged later on throughout the day, and so the girls, when they woke up this morning, they didn't know where they want to get played. Yeah. And then, you know, you get a bonus of winning on center court. Again, that gives you so much more confidence. And, you know, she's got all the strokes in the world. Sometimes I just worry about Kiki. She puts so much pressure on herself, especially when she's a favorite to win the tournament. So let's hope she can somehow find a way how to deal with those nerves, and also save the energy, because she's going to need that in the second week.
Yeah, I guess when you're a TBA, you know, in the back of your mind, it might be centre, and you're hoping those matches go as quickly as possible, and it worked out for those two today.
No, it was a dream situation. You saw that fist pump at the end, too, from Kiki Bertens, because she has put a lot of pressure on herself since becoming a top 5 player. But I think this was really an important, I mean, even though it's just Mandy Minella, that's a big win for her. And, you know, for her to have that opportunity now to be a top player, I think she's just got to settle herself into this tournament. But gosh, you're right, center court, to get that call up and say, okay, sure, let's do it.
But you know, you get the TBA quite often in other tournaments as well, and you get moved to bigger courts or to center courts, and you go like, okay, you know, you just warm up and you don't really think about it. But when you get moved to center court in Wimbledon, you're like, oh wow, okay, I better make sure my hair is right, that my dress is ironed, and all of that, because it just means so much to every single player.
Yeah, royalty watching on, of course. Doesn't matter how many times we come as pundits as well. It's a cliche, but it's true. There is something so very special about the centre court in particular, about all of the surroundings around us. Right, here's a few of the best moments in terms of some super shots from day 2.
But she wanted to try the tweener.
Look at this.
Gets set up.
Oh. Well, you wouldn't coach it, but when you're Nick Kyrgios, you can get away with it.
Oh, brilliant. What a shot from Nadal.
When your opponent hits shots like this, you've got to tip your hand and say too good.
Oh, he's found the line. Brilliant stuff from Noah Rubin.
Oh, that is exquisite. Fognini's run was impressive, but the touch from this fella, another level.
Gap lead by 3 games to 1.
That is preposterously good.
Well, quite hard to pick out the best of that brilliant bunch. Have a go, Nick.
Oh, I loved the curling overhead winner there from Noah Rubin. I mean, I have to give a shout out to the American. He's worked hard on the Challenger Tour, and that was a beauty.
I was actually going to go with that one, so I have to pick something else
We
quickly.
can agree sometimes, that's okay.
No, I'll go with Roger drop shot. Come on, we have to give something to Roger.
That was a stunning little
Yes.
touch. We don't want too much agreement here.
No, no, of course not. It's not good TV.
Winding things up a little bit. Now, throughout the first week of the championships, we're keeping our eye on some breakthrough players. Wasn't difficult yesterday with 15-year-old Querrey Goff. As for today, well, you've gone for a big-hitting young man.
Yeah, I mean, I'll stay with the American theme. For me, it was Taylor Fritz. I mean, he comes off of a victory in Eastbourne just last week, and for him today against Thomas Berdych, who's a former finalist here, a former top 10 player. Marcus, I think this kid is really, and I call him a kid, he's a young man, he's a father. I think he's really figuring things out. I really do.
We're just wondering if that might be the last time we see Thomas Berdych on a court. He's definitely heading towards the end of his career. He's had some injury problems. He's hinted in the recent past that maybe he will call time, and obviously if he does, he'll be fondly remembered for his great run to the final here a few years ago, and the fact that he's been so consistent at the top of the game for such a long time.
Well, he's one of those guys that just asked the questions of the top guys for so long and been able to knock on that door and challenge the big three, big four. And, you know, for Berdych, the last couple of years, it's been a lot of injury trouble for him, right? But you have to remember that he's one of the best players in the game for a good part of 10 years. And, yeah, I think he's worked really hard to get back into the top part of the game. But yeah, if this is a farewell for him, I mean, it's been an incredible career. And of course, we're not writing him off.
No, we are
just
absolutely
yet.
not writing him off just yet. Who's your breakout player today, Daniela?
You know what? I know it's just the first round, but I think it was an important win for her, Anisimova. I mean, this youngster, she's just impressing me more and more. And she had actually a tough opponent because Sorana Kirstea, who is a great friend of mine, definitely knows how to play on grass. We had some great matches between ourselves in the past, and she has so much talent. So I actually thought this was going to be Sorana's day, but Anisimova just showed us all why she's the player to watch after that incredible run in French Open. She just got so much confidence, and I'm just really impressed with her footwork because she's a tall girl and she just keeps working on that day in, day out. Great work ethic and her attitude. I mean, that belief all around her. And obviously she reminds me a lot of Anna Kournikova, so there's going to be a lot of talks in that department, I'm sure, as well, within the next few months, where she starts to actually win tournaments, which I believe is going to happen very soon. And I wouldn't be surprised if she goes very far here as well.
Well, and all the pressure after the French Open run, right, where she beats Simona Halep, she earns her way into the semifinal. She's a set from the final. She's still just 17, and to be seeded here, as Danielle's talking about the X's and O's of her game, I've just been impressed at how hard she's worked on the court. I think sometimes us in the media, we get a little bit frustrated because Anisimova doesn't give much in interviews. We keep asking and wanting for different stories. I think that's why Querrey Goff was so refreshing yesterday. She had a lot of fun stuff to say. But Anisimova, I mean, the tennis that she's playing, to me, it actually is a throwback to the 90s. The way that she hits through the court, she moves so well. She's a big girl, and that has allowed her, I think now it will allow her to follow up that French Open run pretty well.
That's an interesting point you make in terms of not giving much to the media, and of course you can understand why young players don't want to do that, but equally, Daniela, and you'll know this, it's an important part of the game these days, isn't it?
It is, but when you are that young, I was the same. I just didn't understand how much of an importance that part of the game had, and I was always almost like Anisimova. I just you kind of try to protect yourself, and also we had a great example with Andy Murray. He talked about his hip and how bad it was the last few years, but he just didn't want to give that away because, you know, the players are watching those interviews, and, you know, if he says, well, look, my hip is terrible, your opponent is just going to have so much more confidence the next day. So you always have that little bit of distance between you and the media. But I think when you get older, you start to realize that, look, this is who I am, you got to accept it, everyone's got to accept it. And that's why I admire people like Roger when he's able to say, look, my legs were tight, I was nervous. It just shows the confidence level and how much belief he's got within himself.
I also just think we've been asking when is the next generation on the men's tour going to break through, and we're seeing it actually on the women's side. Look at our world number 1. Look at our world number 2. You've got Barty in Osaka. Now you've got Anna Samova, Querrey Goff.
Actually, Barty is another great example. She's just not afraid to share her emotions. It's really with her, what you see is what you get. So she doesn't have that defense between her and the media, and I think that's what people feel. That's why she's got support wherever she goes, because she's just herself. She's completely honest, and she's so good for our game. And I think that's where a lot of the younger players should look at her and how she behaves, because you just know whatever happens to her, whether she's going to win another 10 Grand Slams, it's just not going to change the personality she is, and she's just wonderful to watch.
And what she does, sorry Marcus, is what she's not giving too much. She gives of her personality. She's organic, she's relaxed, but she's not telling you the ins and outs of what she and Craig Tyser are talking about, or what she FaceTimed her mom about. She's just letting you know a little bit about her. This is Ash. I'm a girl from Ipswich in Queensland, Australia, and it's really refreshing.
Yeah, she's got the balance right. Okay, let's look ahead to day 3. As always, some intriguing clashes that will capture our attention on the show courts. This is what the Order of Play Committee have come up with. First of all, on centre, Monica Puig against Karolina Pliskova. Then Kyle Edmund up against Fernando Verdasco. Kyle with that good straight sets win in the first round to kickstart his campaign. And Novak Djokovic will take on Denis Kudla. Novak, who of course began with a straight sets win against Philip Kohlschreiber in the first match of the championships on centre. And on number 1, where there will be no sighting of the roof for at least 24 more hours. The new roof, of course, because the weather is continuing to be set fair. Heather Watson, who won her first match on the main tour, I think since September in the first round, is rewarded with a high-profile encounter against Annette Kontaveit. Karen Khachanov up against Feliciano Lopez, who showed us up the road at Queen's just what a fantastic player he remains on a grass court. And then Caroline Wozniacki, who's got a disappointing record here at Wimbledon, but it's never too late. And she's got Veronika Kudermetova, hope I've got that just about right, of Russia. What about Feli? I mean, singles champion, doubles champion at Queen's. What kind of a champion might he be at Wimbledon? That's possibly going a bit too far.
I was actually going to pick that as the match of the tournament for tomorrow, because I was there at Queen's and I got to witness everything he was able to do in singles and doubles. He kind of became half-Brit for this part of the year, and it was unbelievable. It felt like he never wanted to leave the court at his age to be able to do that, and how he recovered. It was actually funny, because at the later stages of the doubles final, he was not even sitting down anymore on the bench, because that's how tired he was. And what a story there. He wasn't really sure if he was going to get the wild card here because of all the controversy that happened with him in Spain. And what a story. I mean, I grew up with Feli. We go way back when we played juniors together, and he's one of the best players we ever had on grass. And it would be just beautiful to see him going as deep in this tournament as he did in Queen's. Probably not all the way, but I think every single match he wins now is a bonus for him. And also the fact that he's a tournament director now, again, that just gives him, but it gives him the perspective and also appreciation that what he still does now, it's actually not too bad, and he tries to do the best he can, and it's just a beautiful story.
As you say, he's a guest Brit. Actually, 7 Brits have got through. Heather Watson's one of them to end that terrible losing sequence. Can she make it back-to-back successes, do you think?
Yeah, I actually spoke with Heather Watson. We had her earlier on the Wimbledon channel, and she was fantastic. Really happy with that win over Katie McNally, and maybe just build off of it. Annette Kontaveit is a tough customer, coached by Nigel Sears, but I think Heather could use that momentum, could use the #1 court crowd to her advantage.
And just one final thought with regards to Caroline Wozniacki. I mentioned that she hasn't got a great record on the grass, but has she got a game that could see her go deep into the second week?
I mean, look, Caroline has game to do well anywhere she goes. Again, with her, I think it's a little bit of the mentality that she could be such a good grass court player if she believed a little bit more. Obviously, now she's in a completely different stage, mind-wise. She just got married, can't be feeling any better, and you know, it's great times for her. And she has done so much for our sport that every time I watch, obviously we are such a good friends that I want her to win every single time she steps on the court.
Okay, well listen, Daniela, thank you very much indeed. It's getting just a little chilly, so we'll let you get your blanket and get inside. And Nick, as always, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, Marcus.
For your company as well. Thank you, and of course we'll all be back tomorrow from 11 o'clock, and we'll have the best of the action from day 3 at 7 p.m. So see you then. For now, from us all, it's goodbye.